Look around, warrior. The modern world has built invisible chains, not of iron, but of distraction. Minds once free now crawl beneath the weight of endless noise. People wander from screen to screen, chasing stimulation, unable to sit in silence for even a moment. Their thoughts scatter like dust in the wind, their attention broken into fragments too small to build anything real. They do not live, they scroll. They do not think, they react. And in that reaction, they surrender the very thing that makes them powerful. Control. You can see it in their eyes. The fog, the dullness, the quiet panic of those who've lost command of their own minds. They call it being busy, but it's only confusion wearing a mask of productivity. Their energy is spent serving other people's opinions, other people's emotions, other people's chaos. And in that endless noise, their potential bleeds away. You are not tired because you lack energy. You are tired because your focus has been stolen. You are not weak. You are overloaded. Your mind is not lazy. It is simply too full. Every notification, every meaningless argument, every flood of information dulls your edge. What you think is fatigue is nothing but mental fragmentation. Centuries ago, Machiavelli understood a truth most people have forgotten, that power begins with clarity. The strongest are not those who shout loudest, but those who see clearly. The wise man does immediately what the fool does eventually, he wrote. The wise act with precision. The fool hesitates through confusion. Clarity separates the masters from the masses. The clearer your mind, the more control you have over every part of your life. Your mind is a blade, and like any blade, it can be sharp or dull. A dull blade shatters against resistance. A sharp one cuts through anything. Every distraction dulls it. Every act of focus sharpens it. Ask yourself, how sharp will you let your mind become? Today, you will not just learn to think more clearly. You will learn to think like a strategist. You will learn to train your focus as a weapon. You will learn to use silence, control, and awareness to rise above the noise. Because the true game of power does not begin outside you. It begins within. The battlefield is your mind. And once you master it, nothing and no one can control you again. By the end of this transformation, you won't just understand focus. You will become focus itself, calm, deliberate, unshakable. Once you rule your thoughts, no one will be able to manipulate you. You will see through lies, predict the next move before it happens, and walk through chaos with calm precision. Say it silently to yourself, my mind is my weapon. The power of focus is not a burst of motivation. It is control. Pure, concentrated, absolute control. The ordinary mind drifts from impulse to impulse, enslaved by noise, scrolling through endless thoughts that lead nowhere. But a disciplined mind moves only with intention. Every moment of focus is an act of rebellion against chaos. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." The same is true for the mind. A weak mind obeys distraction. A powerful one commands attention. Distraction doesn't destroy you all at once. It erodes you slowly, thought by thought, until nothing deep remains. Most people confuse being active with being effective. They mistake movement for progress. They rush through life, collecting half-finished plans and half-understood ideas. True strength, however, is born in stillness. The ability to direct your energy to one clear purpose while the world loses itself in noise. That is focus. Focus is not about doing more. It is about doing only what matters. Every scattered thought drains your strength. Every disciplined one builds it. Those who understand focus waste no energy on gossip, comparison, or emotion. They move from silence, not reaction. Their calmness feels dangerous because calmness reveals control, and control is rare. When others panic, they remain composed. When others talk endlessly, they listen. Their quiet confidence unsettles those who lack it. Machiavelli warned that people judge with their eyes, not their understanding. But real power doesn't need to prove itself. It is self-evident. True focus comes not from adding more to the mind, but from removing what does not belong. Every unnecessary thought removed is a layer of armor gained. The fewer distractions that enter, the sharper the awareness becomes. It is uncomfortable at first, because silence forces you to meet your true self. But only through that discomfort does clarity emerge. And with clarity comes strength. Most minds are open gates letting anything enter. But the disciplined mind learns to close its doors to nonsense. Focus transforms perception. Decisions become clean, emotions lose control, attention moves only when chosen. That deliberate stillness is magnetic. People sense it even if they can't explain it. Calmness feels like authority because it is. Machiavelli understood that clarity commands respect. The person who knows exactly what they want doesn't chase, doesn't argue, doesn't compete. They direct. Focused awareness bends the environment to its will. It is the quiet force that shapes everything around it. The clear mind does not shout. It dominates in silence. Say it again. Calm is control. The art of subtraction. We live in a world obsessed with addition. More information, more goals, more possessions, more noise. But the mind does not grow powerful by collecting more. It becomes powerful by removing what weakens it. The sharper thinker is not the one who knows everything, but the one who knows what to ignore. Clarity is not found in what you gain. It is revealed in what you eliminate. The fool fills his head with trivia and trends until he collapses beneath the weight of useless detail. The wise remove what clouds understanding and reveal the truth beneath. Subtractive thinking is the discipline of removal before addition. It is the art of clearing the mental clutter before building anything new. Every distraction tolerated is a small surrender of will. Every false belief left unchallenged becomes a parasite that feeds on your energy. The process is not comfortable because silence exposes what noise hides. The human mind fears emptiness, mistaking it for loss. But that emptiness is not nothing. It is potential. It is space for greatness to form. Picture your mind as a mirror covered in dust. Every speck of noise blurs reflection. To see truth, you must wipe it clean. That is why solitude is sacred. It is not isolation, it is mental cleaning. Alone, you meet the unfiltered version of yourself. You see which thoughts are yours and which belong to the crowd. Subtractive thinking is ruthless. It cuts through lies, ego, and unnecessary emotion. It demands the courage to question everything, especially yourself. Few are willing to do this because it means dismantling illusions they've lived inside for years. But this is how strength is forged. Machiavelli observed that comfort blinds men to reality. The wise, he said, prepare while others sleep. To think clearly, you must strip away the fog. The fewer distractions you allow, the sharper your awareness becomes. Simplicity is not weakness. It is precision. It is awareness without noise. Those who master this art move differently. They speak less, but every word carries power. They act rarely, but every move counts. The world mistakes their restraint for coldness, but it is clarity. The clarity of someone who has nothing to prove and nothing to waste. Say it. Less is clarity. Control the mind. Control the world. All power begins within. The one who cannot control his thoughts will be ruled by them. Emotion becomes the master, impulse becomes the guide, and chaos becomes destiny. True strength lies in self-command, the discipline to think clearly when the heart demands chaos. Machiavelli once wrote, "The intelligence of a ruler can be judged by those he keeps around him." The same is true within. Your advisors are your thoughts. If they are fearful and scattered, then the ruler, you, has lost his throne. Mental control is self-sovereignty. Without it, every external achievement collapses. Most people live as slaves to reaction. Fear makes their choices. Anger clouds their vision. Anxiety steals their time. They don't think, they respond. But the one who learns to observe his mind instead of drowning in it rises above the storm. Emotions will still come, but they will no longer command. The power lies in the pause, that moment between emotion and action. The weak mind obeys the feeling. The strong mind waits, watches, and chooses. A calm mind adapts without breaking. It bends with the storm but never falls. It learns from chaos without becoming it. Every emotion becomes information, not interference. Most act first and regret later. The disciplined act after thought, never before. True composure is not born. It is trained through countless moments of restraint, through choosing silence over reaction, clarity over confusion. To master your mind is to master your attention, your emotion, and your time. Attention determines what you notice. Emotion decides what you allow. Time reveals who you become. He who controls these controls himself, and he who controls himself controls the world. Remember this: my mind is my weapon. Calm is control, less is clarity. Focus is power. When you live by these truths, the noise fades, the fog clears, and the crown of self-mastery rests upon your mind. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer react, you rule. The battle is not out there, warrior. It is within. Win it, and the world will follow. The structure of self-mastery is built upon three silent pillars: thought, emotion, and time. Thought determines what is felt, emotion decides how it's shaped, and time governs when it's expressed. Together, they create the framework of inner authority. Lose command of any one of them, and weakness begins to creep in. This is why the truly powerful rarely expose their emotions publicly. They understand that reaction wastes energy, while restraint preserves it. Strength, in its truest form, is quiet. The mind cannot be ruled by passion or desire alone. It demands a blueprint, and that blueprint is discipline. Habits are the architecture of control. Through repetition, the mind learns to obey its own design. Consistent self-reflection forms stability, and from that stability arises strength. What begins as deliberate effort becomes instinct. A disciplined mind no longer has to fight for focus. It naturally follows the order it has trained itself to obey. Mental control creates mental vision. When the inner dialogue is no longer chaotic, awareness expands outward. You begin to see what others miss: motives behind words, patterns beneath behavior, the invisible hands of manipulation hiding in plain sight. Once you rule your inner world, the outer world begins to bend effortlessly. True authority grows in silence. The more control you possess, the less you need to display it. Machiavelli understood that visible emotion invites exploitation, while composure breeds mystique. Mystery creates presence, and presence commands attention. People instinctively fear what they cannot read, and a disciplined mind is unreadable. Mental control is not emotional coldness. It is refinement, the transformation of chaos into clarity and of reaction into intention. Whoever commands thought commands destiny. Every empire, every movement, every revolution began first within the disciplined silence of a controlled mind. Remember this truth: control creates power. The discipline of precision. Precision is what separates movement from mastery. Most people scatter their strength across 100 directions, mistaking motion for achievement. Their energy burns out before it ever creates impact. The sharp mind moves differently. It identifies one clear objective and channels every ounce of focus toward it until the outcome yields. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to act and repent than to wait and regret." Precision is not hesitation. It is deliberate execution, strategy without panic, calculation without emotion. Every great strategist understands that a single perfectly timed decision outweighs 1,000 impulsive efforts. Power in thought lies not in speed but in accuracy. A mind without precision is like a sword without an edge, full of potential but unable to cut through resistance. Precision begins with perception. The ability to notice what others ignore, to trace patterns hidden in chaos, to connect events before they happen. The untrained thinker leans on luck. The precise thinker engineers outcomes. Machiavellian logic teaches that real control is achieved not by domination, but by understanding. When the mind can dissect motives, predict reactions, and measure timing, it no longer needs to compete. It dominates quietly. The art of precision is the art of economy, saying less, doing less, but ensuring every word and action lands exactly where it should. Ordinary minds are addicted to activity. Extraordinary minds are addicted to results. Precision thinkers move like surgeons. One clean strike, no wasted motion, no unnecessary display. This discipline demands patience. Acting too soon destroys advantage. The impatient chase chances. The precise create them. Machiavelli wrote that the wise ruler changes with the times without losing direction. The same applies to thought. The precise thinker adapts to new information without abandoning clarity. To evolve without losing focus, that is the mark of mastery. Precision also requires emotional distance. When thoughts drown in emotion, judgment clouds and perception fades. The calm observer, detached from excitement or fear, sees what others cannot. That detachment is not indifference, it is control. It transforms uncertainty into opportunity. The world mistakes stillness for hesitation, yet stillness is the gathering of power before a strike. The precise mind speaks only after understanding, acts only after calculating, commits only after confirmation. To the impatient, this seems slow. But when action comes, it's flawless. Every mistake becomes a map for the next success. Every failure is dissected, not feared. Each misstep refines skill, sharpens awareness, and strengthens command. This is how observation becomes weaponry. As Machiavelli said, the wise man acts immediately. The fool delays. Precision thinking embodies that truth. Clean, swift, decisive. It slices through confusion like a silent decree. Precision creates quiet authority. People trust those who never rush, whose calm presence carries weight. That confidence radiates invisible power, a power that requires no explanation. The precise thinker doesn't need to prove intelligence. It's felt in their silence, their timing, their restraint. In a world of endless reaction, precision is intelligence made visible. Say it within yourself. Precision is power. The shield of emotional immunity. Emotional immunity is the invisible armor of the strong. Most people crumble beneath the weight of their own emotions. Every rejection, every insult, every disappointment shakes them. They are easy to provoke, easy to predict, easy to control. When emotion takes command, clarity disappears. Machiavelli warned that deceivers will always find victims willing to be deceived. The emotionally reactive are those victims, puppets moved by impulse instead of reason. Emotional immunity doesn't mean feeling nothing. It means staying steady while emotions rise and fall within. It is calm under pressure, silence amid provocation, composure in moments that break the average person. A mind without emotional boundaries is a house without walls. Every passing gust can rearrange its contents. The disciplined mind builds invisible fortresses, not to block emotion but to contain it. Anger, envy, fear, they are not enemies. They are signals. They expose the weak points in your foundation. Emotional immunity begins when you learn to recognize emotion without surrendering to it. This awareness converts reaction into intelligence. The one who feels anger yet remains still understands power. The one who feels fear yet acts logically becomes master over instinct. Each time emotion rises and restraint holds, your stability grows stronger. Machiavelli taught that a wise leader may appear compassionate, but must remain rational beneath the mask. He said, "A prince never lacks reasons to break his word." The lesson isn't deceit, it's adaptability. Emotion must serve logic, not rule it. In modern times, those who remain centered when others lose control naturally gain influence. When chaos is thrown your way, let calmness be your response. The angry see their own instability reflected back, and in that reflection, they lose power. Emotional immunity flips control. You stop reacting to the world, and the world begins reacting to you. It is the art of absorbing chaos without amplifying it. Manipulation cannot survive without reaction, and emotional immunity starves it. Life will always test this discipline: betrayal, loss, failure, misunderstanding. Each is an invitation to lose composure. The immune mind refuses. It studies every challenge like data, extracting lessons instead of pain. It turns suffering into awareness, and awareness into advantage. Emotional control is not coldness. It is composure refined by wisdom. The more immune your mind becomes, the less external turmoil can disturb you. People often wonder how calm remains intact when storms rise. That calm is not natural, it's built. Each silent response is a brick in the fortress of self-command. The emotionally immune see through the theater of human behavior. When others shout, they listen. When others panic, they observe. Observation reveals truth where emotion hides it. This detachment is not apathy, it's awareness. Energy wasted on reaction is energy stolen from purpose. Machiavelli might have called it invisible rule, the art of appearing untouched while quietly directing outcomes. Emotional immunity turns every moment of pain into strategy, every spark of anger into insight. The steadier your inner world, the stronger your outer influence. Chaos becomes your teacher, not your master. Say it firmly. Calm never loses. The language of sharpness. Sharpness is a silent language understood by all, respected by few. In a world saturated with noise, arrogance, and endless opinions, those who move with precision and restraint become magnetic. Respect is not born from popularity. It's born from composure. True respect emerges from the quiet aura of control that others can feel but cannot define. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both." In the modern age, that fear isn't physical, it's psychological. It's the unease people feel around those who cannot be influenced, provoked, or deceived. Sharpness radiates power without aggression. It speaks through conduct, not speech. A sharp mind does not chase validation. It sets its own standard. It defines boundaries so clearly that others instinctively rise or retreat. Every movement is intentional. Every response is calculated. Every silence is deliberate. The world respects what it cannot predict. When emotion is concealed and thought remains unreadable, people approach with caution and curiosity. That is quiet dominance, the kind that does not shout but is impossible to ignore. The more refined your composure, the more magnetic your presence becomes. This magnetism is not charisma, it's mastery. The stillness of a person who has conquered themselves creates gravity, and gravity commands attention. Machiavelli observed that perception shapes power as much as truth. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you truly are. The sharp individual uses this to their advantage. Every gesture carries meaning. Every word is measured. Nothing is wasted. The less revealed, the greater the effect. Restraint radiates power. Silence suggests confidence. Calm implies dominance over emotion. Sharpness is the art of timing, knowing not only when to act, but when to wait. In a culture obsessed with noise, composure becomes revolutionary. The sharp thinker doesn't interrupt to be heard. They wait, observe, and speak only when their words will strike deepest. That patience is influence. Others begin to adjust their tone and behavior in response. Respect becomes automatic. It's not demanded. It's earned through unwavering discipline. People trust those who appear unshakable because they represent order in a chaotic world. Sharpness commands both admiration and caution. It makes others second-guess manipulation, deception, and disrespect. Machiavelli warned that too much familiarity dissolves authority. Distance preserves influence. The sharp mind maintains boundaries so cleanly that others never dare to cross them. Respect always flows toward those who hold themselves to higher standards. Sharpness doesn't seek approval. It enforces it. The sharp are untouchable not because they intimidate, but because they operate with excellence. Their focus, calm, and precision speak louder than any claim of strength ever could. Repeat it with conviction. Respect follows clarity. Mistakes are not the marks of defeat. They are the blueprints of evolution. Every misstep, every flawed decision, every moment of regret carries a message from reality itself, whispering lessons that pride tried to silence. The fragile hide from their mistakes, believing that pain is punishment. The strong, however, confront them, dissect them, and draw wisdom from their sting. Because pain, when understood, becomes instruction. It is the most honest teacher life will ever offer. The wise act on truth immediately, while the foolish delay until the damage is done. The difference lies not in intelligence, but in recognition. The courage to face a mistake the moment it appears, to extract its meaning and to transform it into strategy before it hardens into regret. The world has a way of humbling those who repeat their failures. It sees them as unfit to command even their own direction. But those who learn from error grow more dangerous with every lesson. To learn from mistakes is not to wallow in guilt. It is to adapt. A person who studies their own downfall becomes unpredictable, powerful, and resilient. Failure teaches judgment in ways comfort never will. Every wrong move exposes the blind spots that arrogance once hid. It shows how emotion blurs logic, how pride blinds reason, and how impulse undermines patience. The strong use these revelations to rebuild the architecture of their mind. They do not beg for sympathy. They search for understanding. They examine every flaw like a craftsman studying the crack in his blade, not to mourn it, but to forge it stronger. Each scar becomes a record of intelligence earned through experience. Every disappointment transforms into a silent mentor. Life, to those who pay attention, is an endless classroom. Adversity is not the enemy, ignorance is. Misfortune is not punishment, it is instruction. Machiavelli once observed that fortune reveals her power where courage has failed to prepare. Mistakes expose the areas where readiness was missing. They highlight the gaps in your awareness, the moments you acted from assumption instead of clarity. And when understood correctly, they don't weaken you, they sharpen you. The individual who studies their own failures loses their fear of uncertainty. Why? Because they have met their limits, looked them in the eye, and surpassed them. They no longer flinch from imperfection because they have realized it is the foundation of wisdom. While most people hide behind excuses, the self-aware become strategists of their own destiny. They begin to see the patterns that precede collapse and learn how to move before disaster strikes. That ability, to anticipate rather than react, is the highest form of control. It turns life from a game of survival into a game of command. Mistakes stop being wounds when they become wisdom. And once you've turned an error into a lesson, it can no longer hurt you. It becomes armor. The hardest part of that process is the death of ego. To truly learn from failure, you must take full responsibility without self-pity. Blame is easy. Reconstruction is hard. But only through self-honesty can growth occur. The mind that clings to illusion will never evolve. Machiavellian thought reminds us, power grows only where denial dies. The ruler who cannot admit his own misstep loses respect. The thinker who cannot question himself becomes predictable. True intelligence is self-correction in action. The willingness to revise your mind before the world forces you to. Those who master this art evolve faster than those who avoid pain. They convert humiliation into insight, heartbreak into awareness, and defeat into discipline. Every fall becomes a new foundation. Over time, this relentless adaptability forms something unbreakable, not because such people never fail, but because failure no longer terrifies them. Resilience is not the absence of pain. It is the ability to transform pain into progress. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote that adversity is the mother of strength. He saw that wisdom is not found in avoidance, but in endurance. A mistake itself is never fatal. It is the refusal to learn from it that destroys. The individual who studies their own downfall learns to govern repetition. Once you can recognize the path that led to pain, you can ensure it never leads you there again. That is strength, not brute force, but mental dominion. Those who own their mistakes become immune to manipulation. No one can weaponize your past once you've already mined it for gold. Every failure you accept openly becomes a shield against judgment. The world glorifies noise, endless chatter, hollow confidence, and constant distraction dressed up as ambition. But the sharp mind moves differently. It values clarity over noise, reflection over reaction, and purpose over motion. It does not chase attention. It cultivates awareness. Each moment of concentrated thought becomes an act of rebellion against a society addicted to confusion. Machiavelli once said that men climb from one ambition to the next, first seeking safety, then seeking conquest. The same evolution applies to the disciplined mind. It first eliminates weakness, then gains control, and finally radiates influence without uttering a single word. Power born from internal order does not announce itself. It emanates quietly, commanding respect without effort. Transformation begins the moment you stop reacting and start anticipating. When emotion no longer dictates movement, when every decision is guided by clarity instead of chaos, when calm becomes your protection and discipline becomes your default. That is the moment the ordinary mind dies and the powerful one is born. It is the state Machiavelli understood deeply, a mind that does not merely survive turmoil, but bends it toward purpose. Those who master this mental precision move differently through life. They listen more than they speak. They study more than they show. They observe patterns invisible to others, reading the intentions behind words and predicting outcomes long before they unfold. They understand that every emotion, every reaction, every encounter carries data, and they use that data like an architect uses blueprints to construct the future deliberately. Their presence speaks louder than their voice. Their silence carries more weight than another's argument. They do not need to prove intelligence. Their control proves it for them. They are the stillness that unnerves chaos, the calm at the center of the storm, the quiet strategist who shapes outcomes without revealing intent. They don't chase validation because validation is drawn to mastery. Mistakes were once their teachers. Now they are their tools. Every error has been refined into insight, every setback forged into structure. They have turned failure into fuel and reflection into a weapon. This is the evolution of a mind that has faced itself. It no longer seeks approval, it seeks precision. It no longer fears pain, it studies it. It no longer breaks from loss, it learns from it. And so the individual who once stumbled now walks with purpose. The one who once reacted now plans. The one who once doubted now sees with clarity. This is the final transformation, when control becomes instinct, when foresight becomes second nature, and when the mind itself becomes the most powerful force in the room. Those who reach this level of awareness do not just survive reality, they sculpt it. They read beneath the surface of life, interpret motives others overlook, and act at the exact moment when hesitation rules the crowd. They move like ghosts of precision, visible in results, invisible in process. Their strength doesn't need applause. Their presence doesn't demand recognition. Respect follows them like a shadow because clarity commands attention. If you feel this message stirring something inside you, let that spark turn into discipline. Reflection without action is wasted energy. Take what you've learned and apply it. Observe yourself. Challenge your habits. Rebuild the structure of your thoughts until your mind becomes your strongest ally. Every great transformation begins in silence, not with applause, but with decision. The path of mastery does not end. It sharpens endlessly. Stay on it. Refine your awareness. Eliminate distraction. Study your mistakes until they turn into mirrors that show you who you truly are. Then, polish those reflections until they reveal the mind of a strategist. Calm, intelligent, unstoppable. Because in the end, the sharp mind cuts through everything: confusion, fear, manipulation, and illusion. It moves without noise, sees without bias, and acts without hesitation. Remember this final truth. Your mind is your greatest weapon. Protect it, sharpen it, and the world will bend to its clarity.